Well, Gail and Blake were talking about possibly if there's season 2, hopefully they might have a character sort of like you. Have you have you sort of bugged them? I can play me.
I did not know that. I think there was a kid today who wanted the job in the panel. I think that's probably going to do a better job.
Okay. So maybe you can tell us. So how do you bridge that gap between the two you're doing in terms of computer hacking and neuroscience? What are the similarities?
So the tools are very similar. As in, you get streams of data coming from a black box. You can call it a brain. You can call it CPU. And now you have to understand what's going on there. And what you don't have is access to the underlying mechanism. So you have to kind of infer statistically what's going on. And that's very similar. Also, the type of thinking that I think hackers have is kind of like, okay, if it works like this, what if I break this and change this? What's going to work? And in many ways, I think it lends itself very well to neuroscience. Like neuroscience learns a lot from taking extreme cases that don't work well. A patient that has a problem that doesn't work the same, a situation that doesn't work the same way the brain expects. Those tell us a lot about the brain. So hackers are kind of toying with black box all the time. I think that's what is useful for me.
So what do you think, since you're working with it, what do you think would be the benefit of sharing dreams with other people simultaneously?
Tons. Okay. I have to find a way to answer it in 1 minute because I feel like there's so many things. So first of all, let's start. Even if we learn that dreams mean nothing, not likely, but let's say we learn that, people still want to know about them. Because our brain creates a movie for us, we want to know who the characters are and what's the story, right? And so in that sense, like people want to know their dreams, share their dreams, experience them with others to begin with, without even purpose. Then also, I think that it's a situation where our brain has less constraints. Like everything, our guards are down, so it goes into creative realms that we don't experience normally, and we see new things that we don't necessarily see in the real world because there are no barriers there. I think that it shows a facet of us that's interesting. Now, if you can share with someone else, you basically get them in the most raw and vulnerable state. You can actually get to interact with someone in like a very immediate way, and in a way that's not all we want, right? Like we spend a lot of time lowering our guards and like exposing ourselves slowly and becoming vulnerable until we feel intimate. Our brain gives it every night. So if you just can find someone who's willing to let you in, you get actually the most immediate experience. So here's to it.
Zach, your character obviously knows a lot about Tess. He seems to know more than he maybe should know, Yeah. And as they become connected, with the first 4 episodes we saw within the dream world, it would make sense that he might know something about Taka or Burton. Is there a connection you have with them?
The connection really I think centers. I think Bill does know about these others and does know how they figure in, but his singular goal is Tess and the boy, and there's absolutely no question that Bill is manipulating Tess with the boy. The question that needs to be found out and gets found out is how deep does that manipulation go? Mm-hmm. Are they just is he being upfront with her all the way, or is there a deeper game? So he is most assuredly aware of Taka and Burton, but Tess is his sort of laser focus to get in.
In terms of watching the show, we've talked about how this really seems to be a big screen, movie-like experience. Is that the way you feel that we should experience the dreams, literally?
I think it's incredibly cinematic. I think it looks amazing. I think it does things that TV shows don't generally do, that are generally reserved for big screen stuff like that, in terms of angles and shots and the dream sequences as well. For me, are just deeply rewarding just to watch. They're just to let yourself go into them and follow them through. It's a pleasant experience, and I think very well done. It's not and not cliched. Not like it's not like a dwarf shows up and it's a dream. There are things that like sort of key you into the fact that there's a dream. It might ease you into it, and then you're always clear at some point, but not maybe initially. You know, whether you're dreaming.
It doesn't feel like we know what we're going to see, although you kind of get a sense
Exactly.
of that
Yeah.
going into this thing that you're setting up. If you can even say manipulating, but then we don't get.
Yeah.
I think what we're expecting, and that's
Exactly. Yeah.
Has this changed the way that you see your own dreams, or that?
Yeah, I think it's just it's unavoidably made me think about the fact that I dream. I think that I'm unfortunately or not, one of those people. I don't really remember my dreams a lot, but I have to say, since I've been giving it more thought during the show, I think that may be starting to change a little bit. You know, I'm just a little bit more conscious, or at least aware of the fact that I have dreamed. You know, whereas before it's like I have no recollection of whether or not I dreamed it.
You did.
Yeah, I know I did.
Moran, I studied lucid dreaming a bit in college, and what are your thoughts on that and being able to control your dreams? Do you think that's possible? Do you think?
Do you all know what this thing is called? So the idea that we can control our dreams is fantastic, right? Like that's what we all want. Like, who wouldn't want to fly and meet like Einstein and have a chat and like go to a coffee shop with Miss Universe? Like, all of those things, like now we can bring them on and have them. The thing is, it's either really hard to get to, or maybe even not possible for some people. So some people just have that with no problem. It seems to actually have to do with genetics, like some, and many people aren't doing a good job. There are techniques that get you closer. So in many ways, we try to recruit people who are good in that and just kind of study their brain and see what's comes to them. But it's not obvious that you can become that. So I think that it's real. So people who can lucid dream, there are a lot of studies where they actually communicate from their dreams the content. So there's like a famous study that asked the question, is time in dreams going the same pace as time in real life? So for ages, people asked it and said like, there's people didn't know the answer. Finally, they took one lucid dreamer, told this guy, okay, you go to sleep. When you get to the dream state, tell us using your eyes, signal us to starting the count. And then count from 1 to 20. When you get 20, count, signal again that you're done. And then wake up and count to 20 when you're awake. And they compare the time and say, okay, 1 to 1. So time in dreams is the same as time in reality. This was the answer. After like years of questions, one guy came, answered, boom, done. So in that sense, lucid dreamers are the kind of coolest thing for scientists. Like you can say, go to sleep now, tell me when you got there, tell me what you see, and they're able to communicate. Unfortunately, there are not enough of them. We have to kind of make them.
How much of an intersection is there between genetics and what's being done in neuroscience these days, especially in areas of looking at the way that you're imaging what's happening?
So those are kind of parallel fields that develop similarly fast in the last decade. So now we know a lot about your mechanisms that kind of govern who you are generally, and also your genetics. In that sense, they're almost working parallel with too little overlap in humans. In rats, mice, there's infinite. Like we actually take the brain of a mouse and we can know exactly what each neuron is made of, which molecules break it, which proteins make it. So we really can know a lot. In humans, we know too little right now, and there's a lot of interest there, especially in the realm of nature versus nurture. Like we want to know if your love for falling water was written when you were born. Like, is it something that is in your brain? So there's very few ways to study that. I won't bore you too much with that. I'll tell you that the best way to study that is to find genetic twins and study their brain and see how similar they are in their choices. The problem there is that most twins actually grow up in the same house, they dress the same way. So what you want to find is two twins that were born in the same house, separated at birth, grew up in different places, and were found at some point after many years where they grew up separately, and then study their brain and study their choices and see how they work. And there are people like that.
like season 2.
It's not at all related, but there's a way that colleagues of mine actually find identical twins and study them, and then we actually find answers to the fact that some of the choices in our life are actually written in the genes. I'll give you a spoiler, but then you're gonna. A lot of the political choices we make are actually, to some extent, written in our genes.
Are there non-genetic twins that you've actually found? People.
This is not me at all. This is a guy who takes. I think I time it. I'll tell you. He takes twins to separate at birth, grew up in different houses, and were adopted by